Hello and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I've got some breaking news coming out here for you. I want to go over a story regarding Ukraine. And this gentleman in the picture here is NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg. So, if you didn't know, just in the last 24 hours or so, he made an unannounced visit to Ukraine. Okay, now this is really big because NATO is obviously a big backer of Ukraine in this war right now. They're the ones supplying all the weaponry for Ukraine to fight this war, and the NATO Secretary General shows up unannounced. Okay, and what did I just report over the last couple days? If you haven't been following this channel, highly recommend you subscribe. I've given multiple updates on what's happening in Ukraine, and over the last couple days, I've been reporting that Ukraine has been falling back, in multiple areas, mainly near Avdiivka. There was a town near Oshertine where there was a major military blunder event that happened where Ukraine was supposed to be rotating some troops out, and apparently the brigade that was there holding that town decided to leave, and the Russians found out that they were leaving, and they completely took over the town for the most part, as far as I know. And now the Ukrainians are having to fall back from that area and move on to several other villages and give up more ground once again, which I've reported numerous times over just the last 3 or 4 months of this year. So the fact that NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg is visiting Ukraine, this shows that Ukraine is in a very, very dangerous spot right now. I also reported yesterday the commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Oleksandr Syrsky. He came out and said that the front line is in a dangerous situation, that it's worsened over the past few days and past few weeks. And a lot of this is due to the dwindling support from the West up until the last few days, where the United States passed a $61 billion aid package. But prior to that, they were getting no support for several months. Okay, and even European countries, they were sending some aid, but not nearly as much as Ukraine needs to support this war. So they've been very low in ammunition, air defense missiles, all kinds of things. And now they're in a terrible position. So this just shows that Ukraine is in a really bad spot that Jens Stoltenberg is visiting. So I'm going to go over a couple things here. Let's talk about this on Reuters first, and then I got a couple videos to show you on X as well. So it says here, NATO chief on unannounced Kiev visit says arms flows to Ukraine will increase. Okay, so he's coming here to reassure Vladimir Zelensky that they will be receiving more aid and weapon supplies will increase as time goes on. And we know that Zelensky's been calling for more aid urgently too. Okay, there was some reports coming out. I might do a video on that as well. That Zelensky was saying, hey, we need supplies now. Like, you need to get these over here now. Where the front line is collapsing, it's falling apart. We need this aid now, not later. So it says here, NATO boss Jens Stoltenberg told Ukrainians on Monday that his alliance members had failed to live up to their promises of military aid in recent months, but said the flow of arms and ammunition would now increase. In an unannounced visit to Ukraine, the Secretary General of the Transatlantic Military Alliance held talks with President Vladimir Zelensky as it was due to address Ukraine's parliament, the Rada, is it Rada or Rada? His visit, the third since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, comes at a difficult time on the battlefield for Ukraine. After a failed Ukrainian counteroffensive last year, Russian forces have gained the initiative, at least in part due to the dearth of arms and ammunition from Kiev's Western partners. I will be very honest with President Zelensky and also with the Rada of NATO allies have not delivered what we promised over the last month, Stoltenberg said on the train taking him into Kiev on Monday. So that was something he mentioned there, that a lot of NATO allies committed to give certain weapons and supplies to Ukraine and have not met those promises, apparently. I know that air defense is a big one. We heard that Germany is going to be sending a Patriot missile system over to Ukraine. But what we heard recently was that they completely ran out of air defense missiles for all their different systems they have. I know they have more systems than just the Patriot system. But they were like almost completely out at one point, or were completely out. And lots of missiles are just coming into the city or into the cities of Ukraine consistently every week right now because they don't have enough air defense missiles to shoot all these down, okay? Russia will shoot 60 to 100 of these at a time, once or twice a week or more. And Ukraine just doesn't have enough missiles to shoot all these things down. So that's what he's talking about here, is that NATO needs to step up and send this aid to Ukraine, is what he's saying. United States spent 6 months to agree a package, and European allies have not delivered the ammunition we promised, but now I'm confident that things will change, he said. Stoltenberg pointed to the U.S. Congress now having approved a Ukraine aid package worth more than $60 billion, swiftly signed into law by President Joe Biden, and an announcement last week by British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak of a record high commitment to Ukraine, or to Kiev. So we know for sure UK they've been definitely stepping up from what I've seen. They've been they're actually increasing their GDP, like their defense budget right now, to like 2.5% of GDP. So they're definitely increasing their arms. They've built lots of drones for Ukraine as well. I believe they have like drone facilities inside Ukraine and also in the UK. So they've been stepping up for sure. But a lot of other countries, let's talk about Germany for a second. Like Germany has kind of been back and forth about sending Taurus missiles, but overall they're like, no, we don't want to send them. And these are very high powered and highly technologically advanced cruise missiles that they could be sending to Ukraine, but they're choosing not to send them for numerous reasons, security reasons, probably the cost. They're very expensive to produce. They only have so many of them, so they don't want to send them. He also noted Germany had agreed to provide a new Patriot air defense system to Ukraine, and the Netherlands had boosted its aid to Kiev. He said he expected other new commitments to come. This will make a difference, as lack of support made a difference, he said, alluding to Ukrainian setbacks on the battlefield. He said that Russians had paid a high price for marginal territorial gains, and Ukraine could still turn things around. So, I don't know. Like I said, I've been reporting a lot lately over the last few days that there was a major breakthrough around the town of Oschertine. I'm probably not saying that right, but it's something like Oschertine. And they broke through the line there, basically, and they've continued onward. The Russians have. And Ukraine's continuing to struggle to hold back the Russian army, and they're building up multiple brigades in one area and just storming, launching major offensives on the Ukrainians, and they just don't have enough supplies or even men. They're short on even men to hold the enemy back. It's not too late for Ukraine to prevail, but that's why it's so urgent that NATO allies now actually do what we promise, and that we turn those commitments into real deliveries of weapons and ammunition, and I'm now confident that will happen. That's what NATO Secretary Jens Stoltenberg said. So I don't know, maybe he's going to make some changes within their organization to kind of force some of these countries to start sending supplies. I don't know exactly what he will do, but like I said, him visiting Kiev unannounced like this really shows that Ukraine is in a terrible position right now, and it's very dangerous. And what was it, just back in December, we had NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg coming out and saying, expect to hear bad news coming from Ukraine. And is this the bad news that we're hearing now? I mean, maybe he knew ahead of time that this package was going to be delayed, the one coming from the United States, the $60 billion or whatever. Maybe he knew ahead of time it was going to be delayed, and that's why he was saying, hey, expect bad news. And now we're seeing the bad news, and we're seeing the ramifications of them not getting this aid in time. So let's take a look at a couple of these X posts real quick, okay? This is from Igor Sushko. Okay, this is a clip from Jens Stoltenberg there in Kiev recently, and he's talking about these arms supplies that were not delivered from NATO countries as promised. So that's what it says here. NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg in Kiev, Ukraine. U.S. and European allies have not delivered the promised armament. So let's hear directly from his mouth what he has to say about this.
NATO allies have not delivered what they promised. The United States spent months not agreeing a package for Ukraine, and European allies have not delivered the amount of ammunition they promised. And this has had serious consequences on the battlefield. The lack of ammunition has enabled the Russians to push forward along the front line. Lack of air defense has made it possible for more Russian missiles to hit their targets. And the lack of deep strike capabilities has made it possible for the Russians to concentrate more forces. And we see the consequences of that now. NATO allies have...
So if you notice the way he's talking, he almost seems kind of upset. I know he kind of just generally speaks like this, but I feel like the reason why he's making this unannounced visit is send a message to NATO and say, hey, we're not doing enough for Ukraine. We can't be having these setbacks like this where we're holding off on equipment and supplies to go to Ukraine, like what U.S. Congress was doing. Obviously, that was a big political battle, what was going on there. But he's obviously meaning business here, and he's trying to warn probably the Western world here as well that, hey, there's consequences here whenever Ukraine is not getting the aid that they need, and whenever it's so heavily delayed like it was. And now look at what we're seeing. Look what I've been reporting over the last few days, that Ukraine's having to consistently keep falling back. They're losing more land again, and there was a major breakthrough in the line in one area near Oshertine, and that's huge, okay? That just shows right there that Ukraine cannot hold anymore. So a couple more things I want to show you. This is from Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. It says, Ukraine and NATO have reached the highest level of relations since our independence, but not yet at the highest possible level. This is exactly what we discussed today with Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg. We also talked about countering Russian aggression, further Ukraine-NATO cooperation, and ways to truly join our efforts. Thank you for the support to Ukraine. Jens Stoltenberg, thank you for this visit. So this is just a little bit of information and some of the talks they were having when Jens Stoltenberg was here. I'm not going to show the first 20 seconds because it's mostly just music, and we're not really supposed to show music here, so I don't want to have any issues with that. But it's going to have some talking here, and just go ahead and listen to what they have to say. I believe it's all in English, so let's take a look.
Thank you for coming. Yes, Secretary, thanks your team and your representatives in Ukraine. So thank you very much for your support. Your coming is a strong message of supporting by our allies, and really we are thankful for those support which we've got from a NATO country, and your own support, which is also significant. Thank you so much. We want to discuss some urgent topics of supporting our soldiers from military direction, and also some political issues. Anyway, we are thankful. Welcome.
Thank you so much for everything you do, because your leadership, your commitment is important for Ukraine, but it's also important for everyone that believes in freedom and democracy. And I look forward to this meeting, not least to discuss how we can ensure that NATO allies sustain, but actually also step up the support to Ukraine. Support Ukraine is not charity. Support Ukraine is an investment in our own security. And therefore we should now discuss the way forward, also when it comes to what we can agree at the NATO summit, and how we can move forward both in providing support, but also making Ukraine a member of NATO.
Thank you so much, and thanks for organizing this urgent meeting.
Yes, I don't know. For some reason, I feel like they seem a little worried. I mean, do you guys kind of get that sense that they seem a little worried about what's going on right now? That Ukraine, like I said, they're having to fall back a lot and they're losing a lot of ground. And they've been in a very rough patch here for quite a while now, for maybe 2 or 3 months, running out of ammunition and supplies, air defenses, things like that. So I don't know. Let me know what you think down below regarding that. But they definitely seem a little worried there. I got to admit. So this is from Jens Stoltenberg. It says, important to visit Kiev again and meet with President Zelensky. The situation is difficult, but it is not too late for Ukraine to prevail, and more support is on the way. NATO is also stepping up for the long haul, putting Ukraine on an irreversible path to the alliance. So obviously they still want Ukraine to join NATO at some point. I've done videos talking about that Jens Stoltenberg wants Ukraine as part of NATO, whether that be the entire country of NATO or just a portion of it if they lose part of it due to this conflict. We'll have to see. Regardless, like I said, Ukraine is in a very bad spot, and they have been for a while now, and it's continuing to worsen every single day. We hear lots of reports coming out, even from the commander-in-chief, saying that the front line has worsened, and it's like that every week. So at some point, something's got to give and break, and we're starting to see that right now around Oshertine, and they're not able to hold. So I don't know. I know they're going to fast-track a lot of this equipment over there. I just reported a few days ago as well that Russia's been bombing Ukraine's train stations and their railways to prevent these supplies from getting to the front line. So that shows that Russia's launching an offensive right now. And we're starting to see that, okay? They're building up massive amounts of forces. We've also got some reports as well that they're going after Kharkiv here pretty soon, and there might be a force as much as 40,000 strong Russian soldiers heading towards Kharkiv here pretty soon. So it's going to get nasty over here very quick. And I'm going to be doing more reports on Ukraine as time goes on because there's just so much happening there every day. But I wanted to give you an update and let you know what's happening here with this whole visit to Ukraine from the NATO chief. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. Is Ukraine in a bad spot, or do you think Ukraine's okay right now? And do you think this support that they're going to be getting is going to help them out and push Russia back? But yeah, let us know down in the comment sections. Share your thoughts, concerns, and opinions down below. If you got something out of this update, please smash that like button. And also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below and hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, I hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.